Hey, what's up, guys? Long Island Audit here, back again with another video. Today is a pretty interesting day. I don't really know why this is happening. This is kind of concerning to me, the level of stalker that's going on here and Bootlicker, and it's just horrible, really. It's horrible. And I need to share it with all of you, full transparency about what's going on. This has been going on for a couple months. I didn't want to involve everybody, but I feel it's reached a point where I need to involve you guys and let you guys know what's really going on, because my freedom of speech is under attack. This channel is under attack. We, the people, are under attack, and I'm never going to give up. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, guys. So I am joined by not only a good friend of mine, but a criminal defense attorney from Florida, Corey Zinman. Corey, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
So Corey is here because he is a part of this, unfortunately. So we will get to his part in a few minutes, but I don't want to make this live too long. So I'm going to get right into it. I am being, not clickbait, I am being sued. I'm going to show you a complaint for a lawsuit against me and my company, Long Island Audit Inc., for $12 million. 3 counts, $4 million each. I am being sued by Marc Joseph Stout, formerly known as Legalize Drugs. Some of you might have heard of him. I doubt the majority of you have, but he's a failed activist. He used to run a channel called Legalize Drugs, where, in his own words, he would bait the police into getting lawsuits and he would antagonize them. His words, not mine. So from the beginning, how did I come in contact with Marc Stout? So I was on a panel on San Joaquin Valley Transparency, and Marc was there. He hasn't liked me ever since the first time I've met him. I don't know why. I can only assume jealousy. I can only assume, I don't know, really. To this day, I couldn't tell you. I mean, there is other things that have happened since then. So I met him on the San Joaquin Valley Transparency Live. Fast forward a little bit. He tried to reach out to me. He didn't try to he reached out to me trying to represent me. Because a little background on Marc, he considers himself a legal scholar, like some other people out here in the YouTube world. He considers himself a legal scholar and, I guess, a pro se litigant who knows very much about the law, more than attorneys, because he beats attorneys apparently. But in his words, again, none of these things are really fact. So Marc Stout, Legalize Drugs. What happened was he tried to represent me in a lawsuit. He wanted to help me sue some tyrants and take 50% of whatever winnings there were, whatever, settlement there was, or jury, anything the jury demanded. So the jury awarded, excuse me. So because I politely didn't want his help, because he antagonizes the police, he doesn't have a good reputation for anything. And I think the most important thing about having somebody represent you in the court of law would be that they're an attorney. I don't know. What do you think, Corey? Don't you think that would be kind of smart if someone was going to represent you in a court of law, then be an attorney?
Probably be a baseline requirement.
Just baseline. Maybe they know something about the law. So anyway, I declined his services, and that irated Marc, right? This irated Marc Stout to no extreme. It irated him so much that when I was arrested in Danbury, Connecticut, you all remember the library situation where I was unlawfully trespassed from the library, and then I went to the city hall in Danbury, and I was arrested. You all remember that, right? I was arrested. Steven Sedensky is the state's attorney that was prosecuting the case. So Marc took me declining his help, right? Marc took that so offensively that he betrayed his own morals, his own, I don't even know. He betrayed his own morals and his own, activism, if you want to call it that, right? So he ended up writing a memo, this famous memo. And maybe we'll take a look at the memo, Corey. But really quick, he wrote this memo against auditing, against freedom, against we the people. So he took his legal knowledge that he got from his 6 years in prison, because that's where he studied the law. His own words. He's 5th grade educated. His own words. Again, I wouldn't want a 5th grade educated person to represent me in any kind of lawsuit who's not an attorney, but it's insane. So he wrote a memo, a legal memo, to the state's attorney in Danbury to try and have my freedom taken from me. So Corey, him and I weren't friends at this time. He was just a supporter of the channel, of the Constitution. You can see it right behind him. I've seen him wear We the People ties before. I believe when he took his oath of office. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's the We the People tie. I didn't even notice that you were wearing that. But he wrote this legal memo. Corey found out about this memo. So Corey wrote his own memo in opposition to Marc's memo. So an actual attorney. At the time, he had just graduated law school. He wasn't a licensed attorney yet. He didn't take the bar exam, but he wrote a memo. He felt it his patriotic duty, I assume, to write a memo, in opposition to this bootlicker, holster sniffer, stalker, whatever else you want to call him. He wrote an opposition which crushed Marc's memo. This absolutely crushed Marc's memo. So now, when Marc gave his memo to the state's attorney Stephen Sedensky did not vet Marc, did not know who he was, just took that memo and passed it over to a journalist, my friend, David Schuster, and we're going to watch that right now. Let's take a look at what David Schuster had to say when he received the memo, Marc's memo.
Everybody, I'm David Schuster, and thanks for joining us. In response to our questions, prosecutor Stephen Sedensky refused to comment on the Reyes charges. Instead, he gave us a memo written by a YouTuber in another state. I spoke to the memo writer. He confirmed he is not a lawyer, not an expert on constitutional rights, and served 6 years in prison on drug-related offenses. Why would prosecutor Stephen Sedensky use that YouTuber's memo to try and get a journalist to respect the Reyes prosecution? Well, maybe State's Attorney Sedensky is just not very bright. Hello, everybody. I'm David Schuster.
All right, so let's get this out of here. Corey, so now I think we're all caught up, right? He was legalized drugs. So after he wrote this memo, there's one more thing I have to say. After he wrote this memo and he gave it to Stephen Sedensky, he's so proud of this memo, right? He thinks that it's helped the state attorney. He's a turncoat. He's worse than a bootlicker because he's actively, he's like an intern for the state because he's working for free. He doesn't even get paid to do any of these things. He's working for the state for free when he used to be some sort of activist. Shame on you. What a disgrace. How disgusting of behavior by someone who used to support the rights of the people. Now he's actively working with the state in order to take the rights from the people and take freedom from the people. So he wrote this memo and I did a live exposing him. That live that I did, again, this was like 2 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. That live that I did caused his channel to go under. He abandoned his channel. He was super, he was getting all types of comments, negative comments, the people giving feedback on him. So he abandoned the channel. He quit. He hung it up and went straight full-time work for the state. And he made a video about Corey. And I'll let Corey, this is exactly where it comes in. Corey, you can go ahead and explain exactly how you got involved in all of this.
Yeah, basically, I'm pretty sure I just graduated law school at the time. And I did see your live, which took me to David Schuster's video that you just played. And then I think I emailed you. I got the memo. And I did the research and I sent it to you for whatever purposes that you wanted to use. It was never intended to be a memo that was ever going to be submitted to the court. It was actually more so directed at the state attorney. I probably never would have gotten involved in the first place had the state attorney not lended some sort of legitimacy to that memo by forwarding it to Schuster. So yeah, I read the memo. It was quite frankly nonsense. And so I wrote a response, and in response to that, he started concocting stories about how I had gotten expelled from law school, and worse, how Sorry, somebody came into the room. I got a little distracted. What else did he say? He said I got expelled from law school. And also accused me of representing you in unauthorized practice of law, which is obviously a crime. So
something that I'm sure that he probably participated in. Based on his actions, I would say that he's probably committed that crime. But for him to accuse you of unauthorized practice of law, for him to say that you got expelled from law school, and he publicly disseminated this information to his bootlicking and holster sniffing audience, and so he defamed you, right? So he defamed you as an attorney, and I can only assume, based on what I know about the situation, I can only assume that he defamed you because you helped me, right? You not helped me, but you felt it necessary to write that memo for the state's attorney, not to submit it to court, but for the state's attorney. And then you also, and he's probably jealous that you graduated law school, something he's never done, took the bar exam and passed it, something he's never done. So his legal knowledge is zero compared to yours. He is a joke. He is a joke. And this is why I haven't brought this up, ladies and gentlemen. But at this point, the reason why I'm bringing this up now is because this is now interfering. He is involved in my children, my wife, my family. He is involved my friends. He's done so much. He's such a stalker. He's put on a mask. You saw that video, right, Corey? He printed out my face, cut holes in the eyes, and wore it as a mask, ladies and gentlemen, during a debate he had. Like, it was insane. This guy is literally insane. Like, I cannot even understand why would somebody do these kinds of things? Why are you obsessed with me? So now we'll take a look at the lawsuit. So now the reason why I'm bringing this to all of you guys is, bottom line is, I have to go back and forth to Virginia. He's tried to have me arrested in Virginia. He's ran to the police in Virginia to try and prosecute me for trespassing him. So now, Corey, before we get into that, I'm jumping ahead. What happened now after he defamed you and your career and your education? What did you do then? What was the next steps you took?
Yeah, it really wasn't. It wasn't like he made one video. I'm pretty sure he made 7 or 8 videos in total, and each one just kept getting more grandiose. And I actually ended up sending him a cease and desist letter. He just took that and made another video about me, defaming me even further and doubling down on a lot of the things he said. And I all I did was ask him to delete the videos. I never wanted to, I never wanted to know who he was, quite frankly. But he was making these videos, which obviously aren't going as far as your videos are. But he was getting a fair amount of views, and and he does have his own, as his own little posse of supporters that would, so it was just unfair to me. So anyway, long story short, he refused to delete the videos. He forced my hand, and I sued him for defamation. And I recruited you to help me effectuate the service of process in that case. So I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah. So basically, we met up in Virginia. I wanted to meet Corey. Like I said, we became friends throughout all of this. Not because of Marc Stout, maybe in spite of him, but just we both believe in the United States Constitution. We both believe in our rights, and it's so important to have an ally like Corey, because so many attorneys I see out there, they just disrespect their oath, and it's disgusting. And Corey fights on behalf of the people. That I can guarantee you. I've seen that. So I met up with Corey. We had dinner. We decided, hey, just go serve him. So I went to Marc Stout's house with the summons, and I served him. His mom answered the door, because let me give you a little background on Marc Stout, right? So Marc Stout lives at home with his mom, I think in the basement, because that's where he does his live streams from. Maybe grandma. I'm not sure. Mom or grandma. He lives there, and his mom or grandma answered the door. And I said, hi, how are you? You guys know me. I'm like, hey, how are you? I just have to see Marc Stout. And she's like, for what? I'm like, I'm going to serve him some papers. So he comes to the door, and he tries to act like Mr. Tough Guy, cursing and screaming at me to get off his property. I dropped the summons in between his door, and I immediately got off the property. I wasn't there for any problems. I was there to serve you with, legal process with the summons. Corey was there with me, so he saw the whole thing. I served him with the paperwork. I got off the property. That was it. He tried to act like a big tough guy, and he says that who says these kinds of things that he G-checked me? He G-checked both me and Corey. He G-checked you, Corey, too, Corey, he says. So this legal scholar G-checked. No one cares, Mark. Only your prison friends care about you G-checking people, okay? The real world, we act like adults. Marc Stout, just so you know, if we know what we're talking about, aka Legalize Drugs. Maybe we shouldn't legalize all drugs for Mark because his behavior is erratic. So I get back. I continue my activism. You guys know me. I'm always putting out videos, always working, always hitting the pavement. And I find out that I have a lawsuit. I find out that I have criminal charges. You remember this, Corey? I found I have criminal charges pending in Virginia. He ran to the court. He ran to the court immediately after we left Virginia and begged and pleaded with the court to put a warrant out for my arrest for criminal trespassing. So now I have a warrant because I have friends in law enforcement that I help bridge the gap. I have a warrant for my arrest in Virginia. That was simply solved because all I did, Mark is known in Virginia as a frivolous lawsuit filer, a time waster, a criminal. That's just what he's known for based on, what I've heard, based on his criminal record, based on everything else. But the point is that he's a troublemaker. So they already knew who he was. All I had to do was call the state's attorney's office and they immediately quashed the warrant. So he lost again. He tried to have me arrested. I was never arrested. They quashed the warrant. They realized after investigating and looking at the charges that it was horrible, that this never, they weren't going to waste their time prosecuting this. So the warrant was quashed. Now, and I get a knock on my door and then I'm being sued for trespassing. So I guess that brings us, Corey, to the, I'll add it right here to this lawsuit that was filed, right? So as you guys can see, Mark Joseph Stout, Mark the Narc, as people like to call him, Mark the Narc versus Sean Paul Reyes, and he's suing my company, Long Island Audit Inc. So there's the case number. I'm not going to read the entire thing. I'm going to link it in the description below. Guys, his main point is to try, you guys, I see it in the comments. You guys are saying it. His goal here is not to win anything from me. I guess he's trying to. He's really trying, right, Corey? He's trying his hardest to try and hurt us, both of us, right? So he's trying, but more he's just annoying. He's trying to make it where we have to go back and forth to Virginia. I have to pay for transportation back and forth. Now I have to get a lawyer because I don't have the time. I have a family. I run this channel. I don't have time to be dealing with a bootlicking turncoat snitch, So I don't have time to people who work with the state. I don't have time to deal with you. I'm trying to get an attorney, so I'm looking into that. If you guys would like to support that, the link is in the description. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. We, the people, will not let this bootlicker win. But anyway, let's go over it. So this is proof he's suing me and my company. Now he goes over the facts of the case. Apparently, on May 20th, 2022, the plaintiff was located inside his residence. I believe that to be a lie. That's not your residence. That is your mom's or your grandma's. You don't even own a vehicle. You ride a bike, right? So, Mark, stop trying to act like somebody you're not. So the defendant entered onto the plaintiff's property wearing cam glasses. Again, lie. The defendant walked past the plaintiff's visibly posted private property sign. No lie. Again, lie. You were there, Corey. So do you recall seeing any sort of private property, no trespassing sign? You were there.
Absolutely not. But you actually made contact with who I believe is the property's owner, who didn't tell you to leave and who actually went and got Mark. So
exactly. So the defendant knocked on the door. The plaintiff opened the door and immediately commanded the defendant to leave, get off my property. He kind of said it a little bit differently than that, but it's okay. The defendant made no effort to leave the plaintiff's property. Lie. I did make an effort to leave. As the plaintiff repeatedly commanded the defendant to leave, the defendant stood there and stared at the plaintiff, made a quivered statement, and moved closer toward the plaintiff, placing the defendant's hand and another object. That object is the summons for the defamation lawsuit from Corey. I put it in his door, and I immediately left. Closing the door into the defendant's hand or the object in the defendant's hand. The plaintiff continued commanding the defendant to leave the property, another lie. The plaintiff stepped outside, scaring the defendant. Ooh, I was so scared, right? No, I wasn't. I was not. listen, I've never been scared of you. I never will be scared of you. It's, you need to stop. It's getting kind of scary. It's like you're giving me Fatal Attraction vibes here. Really, Fatal Attraction vibes. The plaintiff continued commanding the defendant to leave the property. The plaintiff stepped outside and scaring the defendant off the plaintiff's property. The plaintiff, thereafter charged the defendant with criminal trespassing, which was dismissed. The warrant was quashed, which is why I am countersuing him, ladies and gentlemen, for malicious prosecution, as well as malicious prosecution, assault, and I forgot the other count. The plaintiff charged the defendant with criminal trespassing. That didn't work out for you, Mark. Nothing really works out for you. The plaintiff has an ongoing 2-year internet feud. We do not have an internet feud. A feud requires 2 people. I'm just trying to get you the help you need. You need the help you need. Really, that's what you need. You need to be exposed as the bootlicking tyrant, anti-freedom, failed activist that you are. But a feud, no. The defendant has a monetized YouTube channel with over 250,000 subscribers. We are actually at 373 now. So 250, that's a little low. We the people. The defendant films visitors. And now this is the best part, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm sure most of you know who Chili DeCastro is, right? So I've seen a lawsuit that Chili has filed, and number 18 is exactly the same wording. So I don't know if he's giving Chili legal advice or Chili's giving him legal advice, but number 18 is exactly identical. They both wrote it. Marc Stout, aka Legalize Drugs, and Chili DeCastro wrote the same exact thing. The defendant films visitors and employees, including children, inside limited public and non-public forums, child and protective support service buildings, libraries, courthouses, town halls, and other government buildings, purposely in violation of building policies prohibiting filming, to purposely trigger perceivably negative emotional reactions from visitors and employees on video. And then he posts to his YouTube channel for his audience to react by sending threats of violence, sexual violence, to the posted contact information. This guy is delusional. He is delusional. So
and how is that relevant, though, to the trespass claim or to whatever?
I have no idea how it's relevant, Corey. That's a good point. This is why I brought the attorney on. With me. Corey, how is that number 18 relevant or 17 relevant or really most of this relevant to a trespassing claim?
Yeah, I really don't know.
All right. The defendant's conduct caused him to get arrested in Hartford, Maryland for hindering a police officer, plead guilty, didn't do that. Well, again, what does that have to do with trespassing on his property? If I did, because I didn't. The defendant's conduct caused him to be trespassed from the government center and Fairfax. Again, none of this has to do. This is why you shouldn't pretend to be a lawyer, ladies and gentlemen. Right, Corey? This is exactly why you shouldn't be, because you're wasting the court's time and you're writing all these things. And now I'm talking to attorneys. They're like, well, we're dealing with this, insane pro se litigant who's just going to file a bunch of frivolous motions. It's going to cost you at least $10,000 to defend this. That's insane. And when I win and I get and the judge orders legal fees back to me, he has nothing, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't have anything to his name. What am I going to take? His fort, his pillow fort that he does lives from, his microphone, his bicycle. Like, I can't do anything. Like, when you are at the bottom of the bottom, you have nothing to lose. He's just trying to attack freedom of speech and what we're doing here, guys. Again, this has nothing to do with anything. And most of it is lies. The defendant is currently subject to a protective order. That's not true, for filming the woman in Berwyn. And just to make it clear, guys, Marc Stout, Legalize Drugs, he wrote memos to every single, he didn't just write memo to Danbury, Steven Sedensky. He sent his memo to every single municipality, city, town, government building that I've ever been to. And he, on his back wall, he hangs up his notary republic certificate. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to lie. He hangs up his notary republic certificate behind him, as well as when they say thank you for sending us this memo. He's very proud of that. So anyway, the plaintiff submitted legal memorandums against the defendant to the prosecutors and judges in criminal cases. See, he admits it right here. Look, the plaintiff, Marc Stout, has submitted legal memorandums against the defendant to prosecutors and judges in the defendant's criminal cases. He's a self-admitted state agent. Self-admitted. He has no shame. This man was an activist, ladies and gentlemen. He was an activist, and he just admitted to now working on behalf of the state for free. For free. The defendant's entire modus operandi is to film in and on property that isn't the defendant's and refuse to stop filming, refuse to leave, to cause emotional distress on victims. Whatever. That's not true at all. The defendant intentionally and maliciously, recklessly trespassed on the defendant intentionally, maliciously, and recklessly trespassed on the plaintiff's property. No, I didn't. Like, this is just ridiculous.
Okay, so we haven't even gotten to the claims yet.
Yeah, we haven't got to the claims. You know what? It's getting late. Let's get to the claims. If you want to read this whole thing, and it's in the description. I know I would want to read the whole thing too. The defendant's trespass the defendant's trespass and unlawful entry caused the plaintiff to feel annoyed, uncomfortable, awkward, and stalked. You feel stalked? I feel stalked. I didn't go suing you for it. So the count one, ladies and gentlemen, trespass to land. At all times material, the plaintiff maintained exclusive possession of 30 Willow Branch Place, Fredericksburg, Virginia, 22405. Now, what is exclusive possession, Corey?
I mean, I don't really think. I mean, he's trying to say. I mean, it's not true in that circumstance because other people clearly live there. But I think for the
exclusive to my non-attorney brain, exclusive means like the only person to have possession of it, right?
It's not even really a requirement for him to have a valid trespass claim. I mean, what would be, in my opinion, what would be required is for him to have some kind of property right, whether that be a lease or or he actually owns the property. We both know he doesn't own the property, and I seriously doubt there's a written lease. But
insane. Okay. Anyway, count two. So basically, count one is the defendant's unauthorized presence interfered with the plaintiff's right of exclusive possession of the plaintiff's land. Again, that's not your land, Mark. You can't just claim your mom's things. Like, you can't do that. Causing the plaintiff to come outside to defend the plaintiff's property and causing the plaintiff to prosecute the defendant, which was quashed and dismissed. And now you are being sued for malicious prosecution. Anyway, count two. Unlawful entry to home. Now, you were there, Corey. Did I go inside of Marc Stout's house, Corey?
You did not physically enter the property. He was holding the screen door, I believe, open, and you merely dropped the summons and complaint inside of the door. Do I believe that technically constitutes an entry? Probably. Like, would I argue that, like, if the cops, breached the entry to somebody's
now,
house?
my argument, Corey, again, not an attorney, but my argument would be if I'm only putting the summons between the door and he closes the door on the summons, and it never even went into the house. It fell on the outside. It didn't go in. But anyway, it's a paper. It's a summons. There's nothing illegal about it.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
is there anything illegal about it, Corey? And is there any damages affected with that claim?
That's the key issue. It's not whether or not
we'll get to that. That. I'll let you speak on that in depth in a second. So, unlawful entry to home would be count two. The defendant entered the plaintiff's dwelling to interfere with the rights of the plaintiff to enjoy such dwelling free from interference, causing the plaintiff to come outside and defend the plaintiff's property, and causing the plaintiff to prosecute the defendant. Count three. The defendant's trespass and unlawful entry were intentional or reckless and outrageous and intolerable. Ooh, big words there, Mark. The defendant's trespass and unlawful entry caused the plaintiff severe emotional distress. At all times material, defendant Reyes acted on behalf of the defendant Long Island Audit, Inc. as the chief executive officer of the company and within the scope of that company's position. So I have two questions for you. I want to get your opinion on these two things. One, what is his damages to these three counts? Two, how was I acting in my official capacity as a chief executive officer for my company, serving him a summons?
Because he has this weird fantasy that you and I were going up there to, like, make some, like, like video out of it when we were literally just trying to like serve him with the summons and complaint. We weren't trying to bring him any more attention. We actually intentionally avoided doing what we're doing now because we didn't want to speak on his name because, frankly, he didn't deserve it. But,
He didn't.
It's gotten to a point where,
But it's gotten to the point where he is trying to hurt my family, my friends, right? You are a friend of mine. He's trying to hurt my friends, my family, myself, my company. And as an attorney, what damages? What he claims severe emotional distress. Does that make sense to you, or what are your thoughts on his severe emotional distress?
I mean, he can claim whatever he wants. It's a matter of what he can prove. And honestly, like, you asked me my opinion on his damages for the first three. I mean, I don't think I guess that's left to be proven at trial. I mean, if he's going to produce, like some medical expert to testify on his behalf, we both know that's not going to happen, but,
Exactly. Severe emotional distress, for serving someone with a lawsuit, a summons, it seems a little far-fetched to me. I don't even see why. And this is the problem, ladies and gentlemen, with the court system. He has weaponized the court system in order to hurt me financially, mentally, just harass me and annoy me. That's what he's doing. He's using the court system to do this. And now, Corey, I've spoken to attorneys in Virginia. I have yet to hire an attorney, but I have spoken with a few of them. They had told me, just like I see in the chat here, you guys are smarter than Marc Stout. He has no damages, right? But why is this a lawsuit of this nature costly?
You're asking me?
Yeah, why would it be costly, even though he has no damages and he's very unlikely to win anything, let alone $12 million? Why would it be costly?
I mean, attorney's time is not cheap, especially in the civil arena. I mean, they're right. He is going to keep them going back and forth to court on frivolous motions. But I mean, honestly, I think your case could probably be resolved on a motion. I don't think this is the kind of case that has to go to trial. Just based on the I think his trespass claim might fail because I don't think he has any ownership in the property, but I don't know. I could be proven wrong on that. And I don't know, perhaps like a motion for summary judgment or something like that for as far as his claims for emotional damage goes, because then he has to produce evidence, and if he can't, then he loses. So.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but I also think that if what we've seen, Corey, so far in these court proceedings is the judge seems to give Marc Stout a lot of latitude in his filings.
Well, yeah, he beats attorneys, didn't you know?
Yeah, because he beats attorneys.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't beaten one attorney, ladies and gentlemen. That's false. So the point is that he's going to keep us going back and forth to court, keep me going back and forth to court. I see the chat. I did countersue him. I countersued him for defamation because he says all these defamatory statements towards me. And not only that, he read them onto his channel. Just big loser. Just, I don't understand. Just complete false.
Serious allegations. Some of them.
Serious allegations, filming children purposely. Like, how can you say that I filmed children and women purposely? Like, you could not know that. That's something that you cannot prove. It's impossible to prove unless you have something written down that I wrote that says that I do that, or you're psychic, Mark. Is that one of your new powers? Because he thinks he's such a, he thinks he's like, man, legal savant and tough guy, G checker, and no one. It's sad, really. It's sad. But I take this seriously, guys, because this is in a court of law. If I don't show up, my last court date, I didn't show up because I had a business trip planned. That's why I'm doing this live from a hotel room. I had a business trip planned, business trip planned, and I was on a plane. Like, he's gonna keep doing this to interrupt time with my family, interrupt time working, and that's why I'm gonna get an attorney. The attorney is going to crush him. He's going to learn what it is to really lose publicly to an attorney. Guarantee you that. And I appreciate everybody that's supporting me. I really do. Now, if we get to hear prayer for relief, this is definitely a prayer here. Putting up a real prayer. General compensatory damages in the amount of $4 million per claim. 3 claims, that would be a total of $12 million. Wait a minute. I missed this when I did the thumbnail. So he's asking for $4 million per claim in general compensatory damages, Corey, and he's asking for $4 million per claim in punitive damages. So that would be a total of $24 million of.
Could you just imagine like that actually happened for a second? Like the court like was like, yeah, we're gonna punish him for $4 million for serving a summons and complaint.
For serving a summons. Serving a summons and complaint. I'm going to be sued. This is 12 million if you add it up, right? That's what he's asked. That's his prayer for relief, correct? Am I reading this wrong?
But that's why it's wild to me that the court is actually like, I mean, I understand they have to be neutral and unbiased, but you know,
like it's a joke. It's a joke. People are laughing at you, and people are laughing at you in the chat right now, Mark. $24 million? You're a joke. This is a joke. How does the judge see this? And I understand the judge can't just dismiss a complaint on his own, right? There has to be a motion to dismiss, and I get it. And that's, I'm not an attorney, and I don't have an attorney in Virginia, and I don't, I can't afford to go back and forth to court every single time he writes one of these notice of hearings. So it's just ridiculous. Now, what I didn't tell you guys really quick before we get out of here, I think it's just so stupid, right, Corey? $24 million. And you can see here, just so you know, Mark J. Stout, pro se. This was filed in 10/12/2022 or written. Plaintiff. And then here you go. There's his email, Stout. This is what I wanted to show you guys. Make sure we get a good litigation. Stout. Pro se litigation @gmail.com. Is he 3 people? I mean, Stout.
Yeah, no, he's obviously, I think that's him and his siblings.
He has siblings. I forgot. Maybe. Or they must be
constitutional like to be his sister before.
Okay. I mean, I can't. This is just so funny right here. So anyway, let's go back up again. Mark Joseph Stout, Jean Paul Reyes. So really quick, I'm going to tell you guys that, when I went to court, I drove 7 hours to Virginia for the previous court appearance. And this guy, he's a complete and utter loser. He comes up to me and tries to assault me. He attempts to assault me in the courthouse.
He assaulted you.
Well, no, yes.
He attempted to commit battery, which is an assault.
By law in Virginia, he did assault me. Can you believe this? What a loser he is. I believe that it's my opinion that he's using this court proceeding to try and get me to Virginia so he can do me harm and make up more lies about me and maybe press more charges against me. But anyway, the point is that I went to Virginia for court, and outside of the courtroom, ladies and gentlemen, this man assaulted me. And I don't like to use the word assaulted, even though he did batter me, I guess, in the legal definition,
he
right, Corey?
You. He didn't batter you. He attempted to batter you.
He attempted to batter me, and he assaulted me. Exactly. Sorry. This is why I brought the lawyer on, because I don't claim to be a lawyer. Never did. I have a lot of respect for Corey and the work that he does. He does great work in his current profession. It's great. But yes, so he assaulted me. In court, he went to go strike me. He went to go strike me, but didn't have the balls to actually do it. But then the deputies picked it up on surveillance camera. What an idiot. And when they went to go arrest him, he fled the courtroom. He fled the courthouse.
And it was his motion that you were there.
It was his motion. I drove 7 hours to go there, and he fled the courtroom. He fled the whole courthouse when he was about to get arrested. So now there's I have a restraining order on him. He's threatened to come to my house. He's involved in my children's names. He doxes my personal home address all the time. It's ridiculous. This guy is completely sick, and he needs mental help. So right now he has criminal charges against him for assault and battery. Right? I just got the summons for our next court date. It's insane. And right now there is currently a restraining order against him. It's insane. Make sure you hit the like button on this video. If you want Marc Stout, Legalize Drugs. I don't think any drugs that he takes should be legalized. Maybe, because what he's doing is, there's one thing, if you want to say you want to promote legalizing drugs, I get it. But for Marc Stout to be the poster boy of legalizing drugs, I don't think he should be the spokesperson for that movement at all. At all. So it is what it is, man. I don't know. It's insane. Hit the like button. You want to expose Marc Stout to the world. Corey, you got anything else to say, man? Because this was a lot of fun just reading this stupid lawsuit. And you know, we didn't even go over his memo, but who cares? His memo is irrelevant. Your memo crushed his memo, and his memo is irrelevant. At the end of the day, it's irrelevant to any of my cases. It's irrelevant to everything. You know, go apply to work for the state's attorney's office then, Mark. Oh, wait, you can't because you don't have a legal degree. You're not an attorney, so you can only do bootlicking work and work for free. That's a real bootlicker right there. What'd you say, Corey? What do you think? Your personal opinion. You working for free for the state's attorney.
Yeah, I mean,
and you are an activist.
It's shameful to say the least, but he's clearly unwell. You and I both know that. So,
that's true. He is unwell. 100%.
I'd just like to say that, you know, I hope that he gets the help that he needs, but he does need to be held accountable.
He does need to be held accountable.
His videos come up, like, you know, like, I don't know why.
You said, what did you say when you Google your name?
What? Yeah, his videos come up.
When you Google your name, his videos come up?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, I know he's like, but obviously, like, you know, who's going to take him seriously? But obviously enough people do. But yeah, like I was saying, this is more time than I ever wanted to invest into Marc Stout. I never wanted to know who he was or have anything to do with him. But, you know, he forced my hand, and now here we are today. You know, and anytime he wants to stop playing these sick games, I'm sure you and I would be more than happy to never have anything to do with him ever again. For sure, but he doesn't want to. You know that's never going to happen because he wants to play. He wants to play these sick games, and he wants to cost me $10,000, and he wants to, you know, this is more attention than he got before, right?
And way more attention than he had as legalized drugs. You know, maybe it is all for attention. You know, but my final word is going to be to throw away your morals and your beliefs over jealousy and spite and whatever else, you know, because I didn't want you to be my attorney. You know, I mean, it's just insane. It's completely insane. It's really sad. And like you said, he needs help, and I hope he gets the help he really needs. And we will hold him accountable, because I doubt he's just going to say, you know what, I'm sorry, issue a retraction and do all these things. We, the people, will hold him accountable. You know, it is what it. Thank you all for your support. Corey, thank you for coming. It was great having you on, man. We gotta do more of these where we analyze some cases, and you know, I talk to you all the time, and he has a great legal mind, ladies and gentlemen, and you know, he's a really firm believer in we the people and our rights and the Constitution, and I am super happy to have him on the side of the people, working on behalf of the people. So thank you, Corey, for coming and joining me today. I know you're busy with work and everything, more important things than Marc Stout, but you know, what are we going to do, right? We have to expose tyranny and hold this man accountable.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, my friend.
All right, guys, let me know what you think about this one in the comments. I can't wait to read the comments on this one. In the description below will be the full lawsuit. I will also include Marc Stout's legal memo, so you can have a good laugh, just so you can have a good laugh while you're reading it.
Put the response too.
I will put Corey's response as well, so you can see how it crushes it. Anyways, I love you all. Take care. Let me know what you think about this one in the comment section below. Stay safe. God bless. I'll see you in the next video. Everything's in the description. Thank you for your support. Peace.